Suspected moped thieves are being deliberately rammed by police officers in London as part of a crackdown, which police say led to a massive reduction in that type of crime.
Joining us now, live to discuss this from Cheshire, is Solicitor Nick Freeman. Now, he's known as Mr. Loophole. He believes this tactic will result in people getting hurt. Here with us is former Metropolitan Police Detective David Vidichet, who has witnessed moped robbery. Very good morning to you, David. This has led to a 36% reduction, yes. But when I watch these pictures, I thought it's not going to be long before someone gets seriously hurt. Do you care?
No, I think that, you know, it's OK to have that view, but the problem with thinking, well, if we don't hurt the criminals, if we back off, not chase them, not physically intervene with them, what we do is we transfer the risk directly from the criminal onto members of the public. And we only go back to look at last year, man stabbed to death through Rolex watch in Greenwich. You know, I watched a man have his face slashed as they tried to steal his bag. You know, sadly, I couldn't stop it in advance. But
were you working as a police officer at the time?
No, I've been a member of the public for the last few years. But I saw this motorcycle cruising up and down near King's Road. It was quite clear what was going to happen. I was on the phone to the police at the time saying, you need to send someone to come and intervene. And unfortunately, they robbed somebody while I watched. But,
and slashed their face?
Slashed their face, yeah. The bloke wouldn't let go of his bag. And I'm not sure if it's a knife or a hammer, but they cut his face. You know, I would very happily try to ram their bike with my own car.
Right, well, let's bring in Nick Freeman. So, Nick Freeman, I mean, I watched these pictures, and I have to say, given that one of my own sons got steamed by a gang of these moped thugs at a petrol station, smashed up his car, stole all his stuff, the police didn't want to know, didn't have time, didn't even want to check the CCTV at the petrol station and so on. I am thrilled that the police in London are now taking proactive, tough action to get these disgusting scum off our streets. Why would you not be sharing my joy that finally something's being done?
Piers, who says I'm not sharing your joy? But I'm talking as a lawyer. And there's two completely different scenarios here. In the scenario we've just heard, not from you, but from the guest in the studio, if the police anticipate someone is about to commit a crime, they are perfectly legally entitled to use reasonable force to prevent that, and that force has got to be proportionate. So they will be entitled to knock that person off. But the majority of cases that we're talking about is post facto, after the offence has been committed. What the police are trying to do is apprehend a suspect. So the offence has already happened. They're entitled to use reasonable force. But what they're doing is actually knocking someone off in pursuit. First of all, it's dangerous driving because they have no special exemption, so that they are deliberately ramming this person. And I'm not making any comment as to whether the person deserves it, but from a legal perspective, it's dangerous driving. That's it. And then in addition to that, you have an assault. It could be assault occasioning actual bodily harm. It could be grievous bodily harm. And then in addition to that, completely disregarding the criminal aspect, which of course the police investigate and the CPS have to sanction the charge, you have the civil side of things where ambulance chasing lawyers, and of course I'm not an ambulance chasing lawyer, I don't deal with civil law, but ambulance chasing lawyers will be encouraging these people who you've described as scum, and I'm not making any comment about that, to sue the police for damages for the injuries that they've sustained. And they might be quite substantial.
You know what, though?
Those are two aspects.
I would quite like to see these little scumbags trying to do that. I'd like to know who they are, because the thing that they do, they operate in complete anonymity. But hang on, let me finish. They operate with impunity, with the anonymity of putting these helmets on and driving around terrorising people. They have no number plates often. So they basically operate in a world where no one can ID them, right? So if they want to come and take legal action because a police car has knocked them off their motorbike, happy days. Let's find out who they are, let's find out what gangs they operate in, and let's get into these people who are causing terror on a daily basis.
Well, that's wishful thinking, Piers, because they don't care. They don't have respect for law and order. People in prison who get injured sue the state. We spend millions and millions of pounds a year paying out compensation to undeserving causes. So, yes, I appreciate your reaction, but we're governed by the rule of law, and the fact that they remain anonymous, that's a matter for them. The police have to comply with the rule of law. And what I'm saying is, by deliberately ramming them to try and apprehend them is unlawful. It's dangerous driving, it's assault, it will leave the door open. And the other thing is this, Piers, that in 2016, I think those were the last statistics, 28 people were killed in police pursuits. 2/3 of those were innocent victims. And we're told that people as young as 10 are driving these mopeds, committing these offences. So I'm not saying they don't deserve it, but what I am saying is, in our society, of which you and I are part of, we have the police and all of us have to behave within the rule of law. And the police need to adopt more sophisticated means of apprehending these people.
A lot of people watching will think, blah, 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 there's a lot of legalese there and they do deserve it.
But he's making valid legal points.
The fact of the matter is, the police have to operate within the law as well as all of us.
What we've got to remember is that there are 25,000 people a year who are being robbed by these people. And what led us here from 2013, when criminals knew that we weren't going to pursue them, they knew that we weren't going to knock them off, that's what led us from a few thousand crimes to 25,000 victims. And this sort of action has caused a reduction of 11,000 crimes. And the police are within the law, or they wouldn't be doing it.
Right.
And I don't think the argument of the police are going to be sued is a good argument against it.
OK, David Vidacek, thanks very much indeed. Nick Freeman, thank you as well.
Can I ask Nick one last question, completely nothing to do with this? You represented David Beckham recently, and you got him off the rap of a speeding fine, right?
Piers, I'm not going to comment on cases and clients, Piers, I'm afraid.
Well, can I ask you a general question? It's a general question, really. Is that you get all these celebrities off?
General question, of course.
Well, you get all these celebrities off the rap, right, on technicalities.
Well, I don't get them off, Piers. Piers, what I do is...
No, I understand.
He argues within the law.
My question to you is this: do you think that the adverse publicity that they then get by using a technicality to get off these things outweighs just doing their time and taking the 6-month speeding ban or whatever it may be?
Well, you sound to me, Piers, like you're talking about a specific case. If you're saying, is anyone entitled to use the law of the land exists. And what I do is I put forward an argument which I believe to be lawfully compliant. So in other words, if I think there's something wrong with the case, I go to court and I say, look, Judge, this is what I think is wrong. The prosecution say, well, actually, we don't agree with Mr. Freeman. This is what I think is right. And the judge will decide, Mr. Freeman, you're right or you're wrong. And that's the law of the land.
No, I get it. I think you're very... Don't get me wrong.
That's the society we live in. And surely, Piers, it's up to the people...
I get it. I think you're a brilliant lawyer. Don't get me wrong. I think you're brilliant at what you do. I'm just... When I've been done for speeding, I take the hit and do my time. I've even been to one of those ghastly speed awareness courses. When I watched Beckham and all the fallout and all the terrible publicity he got, I just wonder why he bothers. Why not just he's got enough money to get a chauffeur.
If within the law you're innocent...
I may ask David Beckham. If you're watching and you want to come on the programme, I would love to interview you.
I can't comment about any specific case.
I get it.
We get it. Nick Freeman, thanks very much indeed for your time.
I get it, and you're very good at what you do.